There are a lot of characters who have not received as much attention as they deserve, while Anne and the Planters continue to have lighthearted, low-stakes adventures on Earth. And I do hope a lot of these characters get the screen time they deserve. The characters who most come to mind in terms of the discrepancy between the amount of screen time they get and the amount of screen time their storylines and their character dilemmas and their longings and fears and anxieties and hopes and passions actually merit are Sasha and Marcy, but not that far behind those two is King Andrias. Now, I'm not saying King Andrias is a good guy secretly, and I'm not even saying he's secretly an anti-hero with a dark past that drove him to the dark side. No, I think he's pretty obviously malicious to the core. But there are a lot of stories that can be told about him. We know there is a lot that happened to him in the past that has not yet come to light to us, the viewers. And I think shining a spotlight on that would allow the show to make Andrias into a character who is more interesting than just the cold-hearted villain who pretends to be all cheery and affable. In terms of the worst of what Andrias did, his behavior toward Marcy is unforgivable. Now, this is not to say that his imperialist ambitions, his desire to conquer every other world and rule over it as a despot is good and moral, but those desires I can at least comprehend. If I were Andrias, I would be able to justify those imperial adventures, at least to myself. I'd be able to say, I'm doing this for the benefit of my city. Newtopia was once a great beacon of progress and modernity. In our golden age, we were conquerors racing across the multiverse, increasing our wealth and power, and spreading our culture throughout these different barbaric lands. And then we fell. And it is mostly my fault. And we've been a weak, powerless city since then. Only a faint glimmer of the glory we once possessed. And I am going to reclaim that glory and propel Newtopia back into its golden age. That's a terrifying line of thinking, but it's plausible. But what he did to Marcy is not acceptable. He saw this vulnerable, passionate, earnest teenage girl who needs adults who care for her, and he pretends to be one of those adults. He takes her in. He nurtures her talents and her interests. He encourages her to confide in him, to reveal to him all her darkest secrets, all her anxieties, all her misgivings about what she did and whether it was moral, all her yearnings to find Sasha and Anne and bring them into this fantastic city with her, but also her hesitancy to contact them because what will happen if they discover what she did? He learns all her secrets, and he encourages her to develop her skills, to apply herself, to take all her ambition and studious commitment to learning everything she can about a given scenario and put it to good use. Instead of just getting stellar grades or being able to excel in nerdy games, she becomes a loyal public servant. She gains a statue in her honor because she's done so much to prove that she is dedicated to the well-being and welfare of the people of Newtopia. And after giving her this environment where she can prosper and thrive, Andrias snatches it away from her just like that. He calls her a fool for revealing all those secrets to him. He mocks her in front of her best friends in the world. He reveals to her that all the lovely stories he told her were just lies, and then he literally stabs her in the back. And he enjoys it. None of this is practically necessary. None of it is beneficial to whatever greater causes he might believe in. It's just cruelty for the sake of cruelty. It's malice for the sake of malice. Still, there's a lot more to Andrias' story than we have been thus far told. We know that he was close to two friends, just like Anne has two friends that she was very close to, and then felt that these friends betrayed her. For Andrias, these friends are a frog and a toad. The frog is most likely one of the planter's ancestors. This little frog is pink, just like Sprig. In fact, looking like a carbon copy of Sprig, or maybe Polly when she's older. That is not a coincidence. And then the toad seems to be Barbauld the Brave, the inventor of the Warhammer. It is also notable that these three have a red, blue, green color scheme, just like the gems, and it is possible that they are the color of their gems. One would perhaps initially suspect that Andrias would be the wit because he is very bookish and nerdy in a way that's very much like Marcy. Barbauld forged the Warhammer that Sasha wields, and Sasha's associated with strength. And then Anne is heart, and she's someone who was adopted by the planters. But maybe that's not true. Maybe Barbauld is wit because he could very easily be a strategic genius, and that hammer seems to be not just exquisite craftsmanship, but the result of a lot of technological innovation. The little planter could be strength. She could be a wild, feral warrior like Polly, completely unafraid to jump into the most high-stakes, most high-danger situations. And that would leave Andrias as the heart. That would create a fascinating parallel between him and Anne. And it would add a personal element to Andrias being shocked when Anne is able to use the power of the heart gem. That was his gem. He once used that same power that flows through her. Drawing a parallel between Andrias and Anne could signal that Anne's journey is going to take a darker path in the second half of this season. Knowing more about Andrias would help us understand his state of mind regarding the invasion of Earth. Now, just a little side note about the invasion of Earth. I've seen a lot of people downplaying Andrias' chances of being successful, and this is a common pattern I see in a lot of fantasy work. People who act like they're being so realistic and even skeptical say that there's no chance any of these fantasy armies would be able to beat the modern militaries of the world, and it's not that simple, y'all. If having the more advanced military was a guarantee to victory, the United States would not have spent the last 70 years losing war after war. It's not like you just measure the strength of these two forces and whoever has the most strength will necessarily win. Then again, I think there is a little more they could have done to make Andrias' robots feel like a little more of a threat. Right now they are being defeated by random old people with no military training whatsoever. No martial arts training, no weapons training, no indication that they're even that athletic. The robots themselves are not that imposing. Then again, on the other hand, Andrias can summon thousands of them, apparently with the snap of his fingers. Having that kind of an inexhaustible force on your side is not to be underestimated, especially considering that the offensive capabilities of the robots are not zero. They can do quite a bit of damage, as weak as their defenses are, and Andrias being able to summon up as many of them as he wants is going to pose a significant challenge to the defenses of Earth. But far more important to me than the practicality of Andrias' plan is what this plan means to him. We know he is invading Earth, not because he particularly cares about Earth, unlike, say, to name a contemporaneous example, Balos from the Owl House, but because he feels an immense sense of shame for being responsible for the destruction of Newtopia's golden age, the reduction of Newtopia to merely a shadow of the imperialist power it once was. But I still want to know more about his past, more about what happened all those years ago, and the horrors and levels of bitterness that suffused through Andrias when he learned that his friends had turned against him. And I hope that's made very raw and honest, even if it is justified that his friends turned against him. That still hurts. And it is possible that Andrias' invasion could be coming a lot sooner than I believe a lot of us are anticipating. We've already seen the clip in the trailer where his forces fly over the Theravada Buddhist temple that Anne and the Planters are going to visit in the episode Temple Frogs. And this is not a guarantee that his forces are going to attack in this episode, but it's not entirely impossible that his forces will attack in this episode, especially after how sleepy the last couple episodes have been. Andrias might be ready to launch his large-scale invasion of the world. And once that happens, I have no doubt that Anne is going to be able to repel him and save the planet, but when that happens, I hope the trio is reunited, and when they do reunite to defeat Andrias, I hope that actually feels like a scenario with emotional weight. I hope it does not just feel like the conquest of another banal baddie. I hope that we know enough about Andrias that we're able to be invested in his fall, his eventual defeat at the hands of Anne and company. We'll have to see what the show does. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, I really recommend that you like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Amphibia. I'm really fascinated to see what it does this season. I am bamboozled by the choice to respond to the tumult unleashed by True Colors by returning to slice of life episodes that feel rather anodyne and bloodless, but we'll see where the show goes from here. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.